I'm Craig Kenneth, a relationship coach and a psychotherapist. Every relationship is different and every breakup is different. Work with me and you'll get professional help on your situation. And if you're in no contact, focused on personal growth, my workbook series, The Knowledge, will help you make changes like you've never made before. Available now at AskCraig.net. Hi there, I'm Coach Craig Kenneth.
And I'm Coach Victoria.
And in this video, we're going to be talking to you about insecure behavior comes out at the worst time.
It really does.
You know, we see a lot of insecure behaviors happen, and obviously a lot of that is the root of the breakups because our anxiety, our fears, the things that we're insecure about cause us to act unnaturally. We start to do things like overcompensate. We get more controlling because we're fearful that the person is backing away. And all of these insecurities are unattractive, okay? When you're talking about a connection, a romantic connection, when you are insecure and you maybe are controlling, manipulative, maybe you're not hearing what the other person's needs are, all of those things make the person kind of feel controlled or sometimes not cared about, and that really decreases the attraction between two people. So the more you act in an attractive way, the more likely the person is going to feel a strong connection with you and not want to leave.
Right, and I like how the title of this video is that the behavior comes out at the worst times. We're not saying that you have to be these perfectly secure beings in a relationship, but there is a time and a place for vulnerability, and there is a time and a place for being very clear about the things that concern you and bother you. So in this video, we're talking about anxiety showing up in relationships in destructive ways.
Yeah, and so what you're going to find if you really look at yourself and your behaviors and your struggles is that when you're being tested in a way like your partner's pulling away, and that's when it's challenging, right? Like if somebody's being loving and affectionate with you, you're not worried about them leaving you. But when they're maybe frustrated or disappointed, or maybe they're just tired and they need some space, that's when you're going to get insecure and your behavior is going to become maybe controlling and the other person is going to be more frustrated. It's in those moments where we have to really exhibit the strength and the confident behaviors. That's what keeps the attraction high. But so often when somebody starts to pull away, or maybe they're disappointed, or maybe they have a different version of where they see the connection going, that's where we may panic or become controlling, lash out, and do unhealthy things that make the person feel like, I've got to get out of here.
Yeah.
So we've got a good email coaching to cover today. And it's always helpful for you guys to really reflect on your insecure behavior. Now, certainly your partner made their mistakes and had their own insecurities, but you can only control yours. And you have to think about the things that are triggering you. And also consider what triggered your partner. So that way, if they come back, you know how to handle it differently.
And insecurity comes out in so many different ways. It's really up to you to be self-reflective and to discover in what ways do my insecurities come up. And it might not be what you think of at first. You know, your partner might be able to identify it much quicker than you are because you might be in denial. No, I'm not insecure about that. No, I'm not. I'm not jealous. I'm not. You know, because we want to naturally hide our insecurities. We naturally want to present ourselves as these strong people who, you know, don't worry about these types of things and we're above it. But it really takes, you know, really looking at yourself in the mirror to say, okay, what am I truly insecure about and how does it show up? Are these ways that I'm acting or these things that I'm so passionate about and feeling so strongly about my opinion in this relationship, is there insecurity behind that?
And, you know, one of the things that we're going to see in this situation and it's been a while since I looked at this one, but when we need to be exhibiting the most confident behavior is often when we struggle and exhibit the insecure behavior, the controlling stuff, and that's why it makes it worse in those tough times where you really have to, where you're not being tested, you know, because there is no reason to be anxious or stressed or feeling smothered or whatever. But it's in these moments that you have to really stay centered within yourself, and it's not easy to do that. Okay? So let's get into this email coaching. Okay, so this is from a woman in her late 20s, and she met this guy in April of last year. She says, we weren't living together, but I would be at his flat 4 nights a week because he lived near my work. Maybe I should have given him more space, but I'm probably lower on the spectrum of anxious attachment style. I wasn't showing a lot of my anxious traits because he was so reassuring and loving. So that's kind of what I'm talking about, and we're talking about up front here. The partner's being reassuring and loving, so she's not going to be tested. She's not going to have a difficult time with insecure behavior. Then it's in the moments where he pulls away or wants space, that's when it comes out. She says, my anxious traits came out more in less fulfilling relationships. Kind of makes sense with what we're talking about here, right? He always asked me to come over and message every day saying how much he loved me. A lot to be insecure about there, right?
Right, and we can get used to this kind of behavior in a partner. So we start to think that this is the standard, and so anything shifting from the standard can make us anxious, especially if we have a more anxious attachment style.
That's a great point. Because you're right, because in the beginning especially, it's like, wow, they're always reaching out. I can always count on them. They're always there for me. But as the relationship progresses, you know, people aren't as eager and as excited they were in the beginning, and then they start to want more space over time.
Yeah, and that can be one of the most difficult transitions for couples, is going from that honeymoon stage to a little bit more monotony, a little bit more prioritizing, you know, the tasks, your daily functions, all of those things that you need to take care of.
Yep, definitely. Great point. He remained very affectionate throughout the relationship and opened up a lot. His mom walked out when they were little. I believe he's avoidant. Okay. So now, all of those reassuring traits that she got in the beginning probably aren't going to be there for very long, right?
Yeah, yep. I'm also curious why she believes that he's avoidant, if she has any more supporting evidence for that for herself. You know, I see that there is an abandonment trauma there with his mother walking out.
Yeah, that would be huge.
I wonder how that may have impacted him. You know, for some people that manifests in a more anxious attachment style. So I'm curious about that.
Let's see. She says, but he didn't act like it, other than finding it challenging to lean on others. He would share negative emotions with me sometimes, but would then repress them again. And spoke about how he felt like he always had to be this positive, happy person. Like he felt like he had to put on a show for his friends and family. I feel like I was one of the few people who he said these things to. Any thoughts about that?
It sounds like he can open up somewhat, but you know, it's interesting with avoidance sometimes. They will tell you a lot about themselves in the beginning because they're not as attached, they're not as close. And then, you know, you think because they're opening up about how avoidant they are, that, you know, oh, they must not be avoidant because, you know, they're so vulnerable about the walls they have up. Then later in the relationship, it starts to click. You start to think, well, they did tell me that they have a hard time opening up to others. They're distrustful of others. You know, they tend to sabotage relationships or end them. And then we start realizing, okay, those things that they told us in the beginning were true.
Yeah. Yeah. And then it's hard to believe.
Yeah. Because we see them so open about them. And later on, we see them start to close up and, you know, those things kind of coming to fruition.
Yep. That's why you have to really understand attachment theory and understand that how people are in the beginning are going to change once they're attached. And so are you. So don't be fooled and just think it's them, because it's you too. It's hard. It's easier to see the other people. It's harder to see it within yourself.
Oh, yeah.
All right. He spoke about the future and marriage and children, and I was a part of his family and friends. All looked so great, but they dated less than a year. So those attachment issues start to come out towards the end of this. We had many beautiful memories together and were best friends and probably only had a handful of arguments. When we met, he had a job, but he got let go. After a month of being unable to find a job, it started to get to him and he became depressed. This is big with guys. I see a lot of guys struggle with their career or with their job, and many guys take that on as their identity and their place or their value in this world, and they really get depressed.
Oh yeah. Yeah, that role of being able to be a provider for themselves, take care of themselves and take care of others.
Yeah.
You know, when that is put into question, your achievements put into question, that can be really hard and lead to depression.
There's a lot of pressure on guys in that area.
Oh yeah.
He communicated with me that he didn't know what he was doing with his life. Sometimes I feel like he compared himself to me, as I am very fulfilled and happy with my career. It all came to a head on Valentine's Day, when the flat that he was supposed to be moving into fell through as the previous tenants refused to leave. So he's already stressed out about the job situation. Now the living situation, it's all gonna just keep getting worse and worse.
And think about Maslow's hierarchy of needs. Right now we're seeing shelter and, ability to provide for himself. I'm sure that goes into, food, buying essentials, his income being affected. So this is pretty core to his needs.
Sure. Yeah, absolutely. All the stress seemed to come out. I asked him if he wanted this relationship anymore, and he didn't answer. Yeah, because right now he's probably thinking, I can't focus on that. I need a place to live. I need a job. Like, I'm overwhelmed with all these things. How am I supposed to think about being a good partner for you?
Yeah. Yep. And we tend to take these things personally when we're in a relationship with somebody struggling with all of this.
Yes.
Especially if we're still in that honeymoon stage, we're so in love with the love and that connection and, the bonding that we forget, okay, this person has these responsibilities to take care of.
Yeah.
There's other things in this person's sphere that are important to them. That doesn't minimize me. But, if we're being realistic and everyone had to choose, I'm being dramatic, but if everyone had to choose between food and having a partner, of course we're going to eat to survive. So don't anybody think that you're above someone's basic needs.
Yeah. Yeah, and so the issues are really going to overwhelm him. And like I was talking up front at the beginning of the video, this is where she's going to get triggered. Because he's struggling, he's not putting in the same effort, he doesn't have the energy, he's depressed, he's got the other things he's got to focus on. He can't really focus on the connection, he doesn't have the energy to. So what's going to happen? He's going to withdraw, and then she's going to freak out. Right. You could already sense it's going to happen, right? Because that's what happens to us when we're insecure.
And this is not to say, I want to be clear, this is not to say that people in difficult situations can't have relationships. Ideally, we should be able to depend on each other and support each other. Her as a partner, how do you be a partner of someone who just lost their job and is dealing with, possibly a housing crisis? Maybe I'm being dramatic about it. I don't know how serious it is for him, but, how can we be a supportive partner when our partner is going through these things? That should be more of the question rather than, are we still in this relationship? I'm not getting my needs met. You're not being consistent with me. Of course, everybody has limits and there's, levels to things. And, I'm curious what kind of conversations they had been having and if she truly understood his position.
Yeah, well, that's that anxiety. When you're anxious and you're insecure, you can't put yourself in their shoes. You're too scared of abandonment. And then you become controlling and manipulative. This is what we're saying, is that these insecure behaviors come out at the worst time. All right, let's go on. I asked him if he wanted this relationship anymore, and he didn't answer. I was only asking for reassurance. That's that insecurity, wanting that reassurance, right? And didn't expect that he'd want to end it. I reacted with shock and tears. when he didn't reassure me and asked me to leave. It was the only time I ever saw him cry. I made some mistakes post-breakup, but for the most part, tried to be very understanding as I knew he was not in a good place. So she handled that well.
Mm-hmm.
I spoke with him for about a week post-breakup, expressing a lot of concern and love for him, but also my own pain, confusion, and shock. I slipped up a couple of weeks later when I sent him a clean slate message as my anxiety got the better of me.
He wants a clean slate my bills message. That's what he wants right now.
Yeah, that would make his anxiety go away. All right. Clean slate message usually doesn't do anything, makes it worse, right?
Yeah.
It's a bit to connect.
Right.
We don't recommend it. He wished me happy birthday a couple of weeks later, and I stupidly assumed that it was an indirect direct. I don't think it was so stupid to think that.
Yeah.
I mean, it could have very well been an indirect direct for reaching out for your birthday. It's just that what does he do with it after that initial happy birthday message, right? Because if it's just happy birthday to be polite, it's going to kind of end there.
Mm-hmm.
But if there's more to it, then he's going to be like, so how was it? I should take you out for that birthday drink. Something like that.
Mm-hmm.
All right, so I reached out to him about a week later with a stupid good reminder text. He responded to the messages warmly and said he would always admire me and only had good memories with me. Yeah, those good reminder texts usually get ignored a lot of the times.
Mm-hmm.
We don't recommend doing them because even if you get warm messages, it's still awkward, uncomfortable, and it didn't go anywhere.
Yeah.
And that's really the most important thing.
Yeah. And I'm getting here that it really is the issues that he was dealing with that got in the way of the relationship rather than the relationship itself.
Mm-hmm.
You know, that's really what I'm seeing in this situation with the information that we have. And we did a video a while ago that talked about, you know, when somebody breaks up with you when they really don't want to. That's almost a bit of the sense that I'm getting here. You know, it's still warm. It still sounds amicable.
Yeah.
I think the issue here was he had so much on his plate, and because of your question, do you still want to be together? You know, needing that reassurance, he kind of got the sense of, I don't know if I'll be able to give this person what they need, and this seems like something added to what I need to do. You know, of course, in an ideal world, it would be great if, you know, he was able to give her that reassurance and then he didn't also have to deal with a breakup on top of everything else he's dealing with. But when someone is overwhelmed, they don't have that clear mind to make those types of decisions.
Yeah, and it's frustrating because it really wasn't that big of what she did.
Right.
You know, just asking for some reassurance. But, you know, that's what we're saying is that it's really tough because it's in these moments where somebody wants a little space and they need some space because they're going through stuff like this or whatever's going on with them, and we want to pull closer, and it's you know, natural and normal to want to do it, but it often just turns the other person off and makes them feel like they can't anymore.
Right.
So it's very frustrating. All right, let's go on a little bit longer. They said, I have been in no contact since the end of February, other than those stupid good reminder texts and the clean slate message. I know I've made mistakes, but I have been through breakups before and have never experienced anything like this heartbreak. Do I still have a chance? Well, I mean, I don't see why you don't. You didn't really make that big of a mistake here, other than, you know, wanting some extra reassurance with somebody who didn't have the mental capacity to give it.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, I agree.
And, you know, obviously she followed some other coach's advice here, and that didn't go well. But she's now in no contact. And, you know, if this guy gets his life turned around, gets a job, I think that could be a huge opportunity for him to want to come back and say, I can do this again now.
Exactly. And going back to Maslow's hierarchy of needs, at the very base, at the very core, are those fundamental needs: shelter, food, water, making sure you can survive. And then above that are more of those relational, social needs, you know, need for love, need for fulfillment, go on further beyond that. And so right now he is working on that foundation. I don't think he will be able to think about going further until he has these things settled and until he has a good grip on his life on his own. So that is possible. I think a lot of these issues were temporary. It's just now up to, will he get to a place where he's open to this relationship again? And will you be able to see things from his perspective and, in a way, depersonalize those issues from you and, what you're bringing into the relationship?
Yeah. He'll need some time because he's got to get a couple things in order, getting a job, getting a place. And then he'll need to get settled and kind of process everything that happened. And it will probably take him some time to start to miss her. But, there's no real reason that he couldn't come back to this situation. But take it slow because you need to make sure his mental health is okay.
Right.
And, now that you see where he struggles, he may struggle in those areas again. So you want to make sure that he's in a good place and he's emotionally stronger and more centered in where his life is at so he can fulfill those needs.
Right. And it would be great, too, to see him also build up some communication skills for if something like this happens again in his own personal life. That he'll be able to say, I feel overwhelmed with these things. I'm, wanting to connect with you and let me settle these things first. I don't know if you've gotten a clear word for him on that, which may have been adding to your anxiety. We always think that it's our fault, so we can't blame you for that. It's natural, it's human. But working through that anxiety can help you see some of these deeper issues that are affecting your relationship that might not be you.
Yep. Just always keep in mind that there are going to be struggles in your relationship, even in the best relationships. And it's when you're feeling some, anxiety or some distance from your partner, or maybe you feel like they're going to walk away, that you really want to buckle down within yourself and stay emotionally centered. Because the more you're able to do that, the less likely you're going to be putting pressure on somebody else and make them want to run away.
Exactly.
All right. So hopefully this one's been helpful to you. Of course, if you want to get our help personally, you can do that on my website, askcraig.net. I do email coaching and I do Skype. Coach Victoria is also available for Skype coaching.
I'm here whenever you'd like to chat.
Just click on her name on the top of the website to schedule with her. But that's it for this video. I'm Coach Craig Kenneth.
And I'm Coach Victoria.
And we will talk with you soon.